First of all, even though you have the Kansas roots, I've always kind of felt that there were strong ties with St. Louis because of all those years on KMOX Open Line where you became kind of a legend in our parts.
That's kind of you to say. I grew up listening to Harry Carey and Jack Buck, and actually I'm so old that I was listening to Harry Carey before Jack Buck joined him, I think. And so I have had ties ever since to this organization for a long time.
How about when you look out and you see what you started preaching back in the 70s, sabermetrics, runs created, on-base percentage? Do you feel a sense of pride that what you were preaching back then has now become the way to judge players?
The month has 31 days. I have 30 days of intense pride and 1 day of some embarrassment. What sabermetrics has become is wonderful, and I'm very glad to see my ideas adopted so widely and sometimes not so successfully.
As a devout reader of the Baseball Abstract every year, you made it, though, fun with your, I can't say snarky, but sometimes witty, kind of tough comments in describing players. I mean, that was the only way to make that book popular. It couldn't be just about numbers. It had to be about personality, too.
Well, again, it's kind of you to say. I regret to say that I wasn't always nice to people. And, it was before I had kids, and when you have kids, it rewires you emotionally. And I'd said a lot of things that I don't regret, and I do know that the attitude helped the book be successful. But on the other hand, I said a lot of things I wouldn't say now, I hope.
We just interviewed a guy going into the Hall of Fame, Ted Simmons, and he credits basically the apostles of Bill James for getting him in the Hall and looking a little closer at his statistics.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. That's wonderful to hear. Ted Simmons should have been in the Hall of Fame years ago, and there was this reputation that he was a bad defensive catcher because he didn't throw like Johnny Bench. A lot of people don't throw like Johnny Bench, and quite a few guys in the Hall of Fame. Yogi Berra didn't throw like Johnny Bench. He should have been in the Hall of Fame a long time ago. It's a wonderful thing that he's going in.
How about the scorn or maybe the opposition you may have faced initially?
Well, again, I brought a lot of that on myself by being unreasonably hard on people. I'm very glad to see change in that. I'll tell you what, you wouldn't believe how many old scouts come up to me at baseball games and say, I was using your stuff for years before anybody was paying any attention to it. I mean, that's something that happens to me pretty much any time I go to a minor league baseball game. And I don't think they're lying. I think they're telling the truth. But on the other hand, they were pretty quiet about it at the time.
Did Billy Beane adopt kind of what you were all about?
Billy Beane was certainly a sophisticated analyst years before many other people in baseball were. Not just my work, though, other people's as well.
I want to ask you about a couple of St. Louisans. Scott Rowland, and do you believe he belongs in the Hall?
I do. I think Scott Rowland was, I think Ken Boyer belongs in the Hall of Fame, and I think Scott Rowland was demonstrably superior to Kenny Boyer. So,
how about Larry Walker and those on-base percentages?
Well, again, I don't advocate for people being in the Hall of Fame because, you can only advocate for so many at a time. Larry Walker is above the line. If he gets in, I'll be very happy. He's above the line that marks where the Hall of Fame starts.
And how about your life right now? I know you were with the Red Sox for a while, helped to build some championships there. Tell me about everything you're doing now.
Well, I have a book on the history of Kansas that should be out sometime this year, if not this year, then next year certainly. And I still have my website, Mill James Online, and I still waiting for grandkids, but otherwise I'm busy.
Final thought: how would Bill James like to be remembered in the baseball world?
What I was trying to do was not be a baseball executive. I was trying to be a baseball writer. I was trying to have an impact on baseball writing, and maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I don't know. But that's what I was trying to do, and I was surprised that it spilled over into front offices and caught on in front offices much more rapidly and much more thoroughly than in baseball writing. So in a sense, I'd like to be remembered as a writer who like a train going up a hill threw off some sparks that set some fires.